looking for a boyfriend, but my friends Chris and Agnes insisted that I meet this guy, Eddie. He's a writer, they said, and that's what you wish you could be. It's perfect. I agreed begrudgingly, but to which they responded that he would be on his way in half an hour. Damn. That night, we happened to be out with some friends, and I really didn't feel like much being attractive. It was really cold out. And besides, the bass player for my friend Joanna's band was there, and I never realized how blue his eyes were. And I was having a really good time staring at him and listening to him talk. But Eddie showed up, and he was very friendly and sort of loud. Not in a J.D. Salinger type of reserved writer, more of a really drunk, dickhead Ernest Hemingway type. For whatever reason, I agreed to go out with him later that week. He had me meet him at one of those old man bars that hipster dudes like to hang out at, because real old men are there. We chatted for a bit, and he was sort of rowdy and annoying. At some point, I excused myself to the bathroom, and when I returned, he had struck up a conversation with some old guy. But my return did not stop their tete-a-tete, which went on and on. I tried to get myself up in there, but they had just kept going on and on about how Dean Martin once took a shit in a bathroom or something like that. I played with my phone. When we called it a night, he asked if I wanted to go out later again, and I was honestly surprised that he asked me out and not the old man. I have no idea why, but I agreed to have dinner with him that weekend. Our next encounter was slightly better, meaning that I drank a lot more. He talked about a lot about himself, and some of it was interesting, like when he told me that he had his own apartment. In all of my years in living in NYC, I had never met someone without a roommate. I was intrigued. So when he asked me if I wanted to go home with him, naturally I said yes, if for no other reason than to see his wonderland of an apartment. His place was nice, but less nice when I found out that his parents paid his rent. At one point, we were making out when he stopped and asked, and told me that I just had to see his VHS that he got off of eBay of Soviet-era Polish commercials. While I'm usually into that sort of thing, maybe not so cool to be asked while the person's hand is on your boob. The following weekend, I promised Eddie that I would meet him while his friend DJ'd trashy Europop at a bar near my apartment. There was mention of free beer. Earlier in the evening, my friend Joanna asked me if I wanted to come to her to her bass player's birthday party. I enthusiastically said yes. I hadn't ever really talked to Joanna's bass player, but I found him to be incredibly sarcastic. He had this... Ooh, sorry, guys. And I'm missing a page. Of my... Oh, beautiful. Lovely. Technology, y'all. Sorry. All right, great. He had this real sense of humor. He was soft-spoken, but not in a bad way, in a very opposite of Eddie type of way, in a way that I appreciated. I don't know what came over me, beer, I suppose, but I guess I asked him out on a date. It was the first time that I'd ever done anything like that in my entire life. But then my coach turned into a pumpkin, and I hopped back on the subway to meet Eddie. I remember that there was a crazy snowstorm that night. Mixing the cold with Ace of Base, I needed to go home. Eddie tagged along and began following me back to my place. I had already told him that I would bake a cake with him the very next day for his cake party that he was invited to, and the thought of being snowed into my apartment and then having to listen to him talk about cake batter was too much. I told him to go home. And then he was pissed, but not pissed enough to call me the next day and act like nothing happened. The following weekend happened to be my birthday, and I was planning on having some friends together at a bar. I don't quite know how I managed it, but I invited both Eddie and Joanna's bass player to my party. I was hoping that one or both of them would cancel, but they both said they'd see me there. This sucked. Maybe some people out there are into juggling two guys at once, but I'm not that kind of person. Firstly, the whole situation just seems way too stressful, and I'm also really bad with names. So come party time, I did what any rational person would do. I drank a lot. A lot. Did I also do drugs? Who knows? Probably. Yes. Suffice it to say, I was not in my right mind. Eddie brought his usual obnoxiousness, introducing himself to all of my friends, while Joanna's bass player was, just laid back, being nice, but not in my face. I watched him from a distance as Eddie explained to one of my friends where to find the best World War II porn. And I guess something in me just snapped. I pulled him aside and I said something. I have no idea what I said. All I remember is him leaving, dramatically, hugging one of my friends and telling her how he would miss her. And I think my warped sense of reality allowed me to carry on. I had a very enjoyable rest of the evening. Joanna's bass player hung out all night. He even pretended to enjoy my karaoke rendition of Pat Benatar. The next day, it occurred to me that I had said something shitty to Eddie to make him storm off. But for the life of me, I could not recall what it was. How bad could it have been, really? I don't like you. You never shut the fuck up. The idea of Soviet commercials doesn't really make sense if you think about it logically. What could I have possibly said? I called him several times. No answer. I finally emailed him, and after a few hours, he wrote me back. He said, I won't repeat what you said to me because it was single-handedly the most meanest thing that anyone had ever said to me. P.S. Have a nice life with what's-his-face. I felt bad for a minute, but the sheer drama of the response made me think that I did the right thing. But to this day, I will never, never forget the email, most specifically the last line. P.S. Have a nice life with what's-his-face. Because I have. What's-his-face? Joanna's bass player? His name is Rob. And we've been married for 4 years.